Well, I'm a little disappointed that I didn't wear my glasses, but you guys have glasses, and James definitely has glasses, because that's why it gets so bright here at the Signature Studio Spotlight Series with Susan Ebert, John Butler, Bald Guy in the Red Tie, and one of the best at this office, this brokerage, Mr. James Shelby.
Hello, thank you. About time I've been on here, honestly.
I know, right?
It's been too long.
It took me a minute.
That's okay, though.
But you are familiar with the studio because you have your own show every Monday.
Yes, the Stay Hungry Show. Yes,
right.
And I love the studio. It's one of my favorite places to be. So
Doesn't
I'm
it-
glad to be here.
Isn't it fun to like step in here and then like it just feels that electricity of it?
I'm used to being on the other side of the table, but yes, it is fun to be in the studio. And I love Billy. Billy doesn't get enough love and praise, so let's give Billy a little credit.
Yay, Billy Tay.
Love and praise.
2819 Productions in the house.
Yes, so
Making all this work.
he makes us sound and look good. Look
Thank
better
goodness.
than we are.
I think you have a pretty good start on that,
Oh,
James Shelby.
jeez. Here we go.
Well, okay, so
Only 30 seconds in.
well, we have to, because I mean, this is how you market yourself. You're one of the most stylish, fashionable people. I mean, you literally have shoes. Are you wearing the Shelby sold
No,
shoes?
I have the Shelby sold shoes, but not on. Not today.
Because you got like the plaid thing going. You got the navy blue blazer, regular T-shirt.
Yes.
You got some wrist beads.
Yes.
You got
No socks.
Christian Stone.
No-
if-
Yeah.
I want to just point this out. Christian, he swears he was wearing them before, but he was about 6 months behind me. So don't let him fool you. I had him first. But,
You're the real trendsetter,
I'm
huh?
the real trendsetter, at least in the office. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. I'm ripping off someone else that's out there, you know. But everyone rips off. That's a trend, right? It has to start with someone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I need to do something really out there to start my own trend, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, how exciting.
I don't know though.
I can hardly wait to see what that's going to be.
Well, let's kind of talk about your career, because you are on that rocket ride of success for the past couple of years. I mean, you went from like nothing to being one of the big players in town here in the Temecula Valley. So how did you get into real estate?
Felt more like a roller coaster than a rocket.
With the loops and the
A lot
hoops.
of ups and downs. It felt more like a car crash that you fly out of the car and you land on your feet, I guess. I don't know.
That's a great way to describe real estate.
That's
like a
real
cat.
estate, right? Yeah, it's like, no, I don't know. What was the question?
How did you get into real estate?
How did I get into real estate? That's a good question. So I feel like I've told this story so many times, but it's always fun to retell it. I got into real estate through buying my own house, my first house. That was kind of my introduction into the world of real estate. And you know, when I started working full-time at 15, so I was basically like a kid working a full-time job, because I graduated early and worked for a family business. So I didn't really know, you know, you grow up and you know, like, okay, you could be a professional athlete, a teacher, a doctor, or like a garbage man or something, you know, or a construction worker. Like those were like the categories. And then you don't realize that there's literally millions of different types of jobs. So I didn't even understand this was a job. And until I started buying my own house at, you know, I think it was, I don't know, 25 or something. And that was my introduction into real estate and kind of what agents do as a job. And this was at a time when the market was really bad. And you guys remember this. This was like 2011 or 12, something like that. And throughout the process of trying to find my own house, well, let me back up a little bit. I started realizing something weird, because I was looking at these homes and I was realizing that these homes that used to be 300,000 are now like 120,000. So that was like my first, and I didn't understand the economy. Keep in mind, I'm a kid. Like, I don't understand how the economy works. I don't understand how the real estate works. But all I knew was like, these homes used to be 300,000. Now they're like 120,000. I should probably try to buy one because I can afford one now. So that was my introduction into like real estate as a whole. And then while I was trying to find my own house, I was finding all these homes. Since I was driving around installing auto glass, I was finding homes that were abandoned. And I would always call my agent and be like, hey, what about this home? What about that home? And she would look it up and, oh, that one's in foreclosure and blah, blah, blah. and I would figure out a way to get in touch with the people that own the home and ask them if they would do a short sale. I was doing this for the agent. And she's like, you should get into real estate because you don't mind. Yeah, you don't mind talking to people and doing all this stuff. And then that's kind of, I was like, oh, I guess I could look into it. I don't know how it works. And that was kind of the introduction. So kind of the long way around of how I decided to get into real estate.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so that was about 2011, 12?
Yeah, I that was like when I started looking. From the time I was looking to the time I actually bought my house. Remember, short sales were taking like 6-8 months.
Yeah.
10 months, you know?
2-3 years, yeah.
Yeah, you guys, again, know more than I would, but at the time, I found a couple different homes and actually got short sale listings for my agent, and I didn't end up buying those homes. I don't remember why or what the circumstances were at the time, but she ended up selling them. And I didn't really think anything about it because I didn't know how it works, don't know how I get paid. So by the time I got my own house and went through the 7-month process of that, by the time that had ended, I think I started getting my license. Because at that point, I realized how it worked and how real estate agents got paid. And the light bulb went off. Because I'm like, well, if I can sell just one home a month, I'll make double what I make now. You know, I wasn't making anything. I was living in a trailer. So that was my introduction to real estate and what made me want to get my license. And I gotta say, I gotta give her credit because she didn't have to say, oh, you'd be good at this.
Yeah.
She could have just been like, oh, cool, a short sale listing.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. But she did kind of take the initiative and was very complimentary in saying, hey, you know, you should look into this. Because if she wouldn't have said, you would be good at this, I might have never even explored it as an option, to be honest.
She planted that seed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I think she initially wanted me to come work for her, but she was in Rancho Santa Fe or somewhere kind of far away. It was a referral through a friend, and that didn't end up working out, but I do have to give her a lot of credit for saying that.
So when did you actually get licensed? Was that about 2012, 13?
Yeah, I think it was right at the same time I bought my house, I got my license. So it was 2012-ish, maybe 13, right around there.
By
the time I finally closed on my house and went through the whole process, it felt like I was looking forever. But I think by the time I finally got the house and everything, I think it was 2013.
And so you started at a different brokerage because Signature wasn't around quite yet.
Yeah, so I'm going to do a lot of name dropping in this podcast. There's another guy named Miguel Aguilar.
Oh, yeah,
so
Miguel.
You guys know Miguel.
Yeah.
So
love Miguel.
I got to give him some credit too, because I think I started following him on Instagram, and Instagram was a brand new thing at the time.
Yeah.
Even before I had found the house I purchased, I started following him. And you know Miguel. You guys know Miguel.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's strong on he's a strong dude, but then on Instagram he's huge.
I was looking back. I was talking to him 6 months ago or something, and I was laughing about a post I had liked, and it must have been around 2012 or 13 of his, and it had 10 likes or something.
Yeah.
You know, now he's got thousands and thousands of people. But I started following him, and I actually reached out because he was into classic cars and working out, and he had 2 daughters, and I kind of felt wow, this guy seems like he has a cool life, and he sells real estate, and I like classic cars, and I have kids, and why can't I'm already getting into this real estate thing. Why can't I follow a similar path that this guy did? And honestly, I didn't know him. I only knew from Instagram. So I reached out to him, and to his credit, he was very nice, and he's like, hey, do this. He's like, go join a big box brokerage like Tarbell or something, and once you get your license, because I was talking to him while I was in transition of getting my license. I hadn't got it yet. He said, once you get your license, go to one of these places, 3 months or something. If you still want to keep doing this, hit me up and we'll talk about working together maybe. So I think he might have thought like most people, you get into real estate. Once you've been in real estate a while, you realize most people that get in don't do anything.
Right.
So I think instead of just saying, oh, no, I'm not going to work with you, or I don't have time or whatever, I think he's just like, hey, if he gets through this, then maybe we'll work together. So it started out that way. Why am I not breathing? I'm talking so much I'm not breathing.
Wait,
so
take a breath first.
I know I need to take a breath in the water.
Have a drink. It's gonna be okay.
So yeah, so once I got my license, I don't know why I'm not breathing.
you are breathing because you're still sitting
I'm
here.
still here.
Yeah.
Yeah, once I got my license, I went to Tarbell. And then from Tarbell, I went to Keller Williams. And this was in like a short time span. Like 1 month I was at Tarbell. I kind of got bounced around. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Went to Keller Williams and met Mahasa. Sweet girl. And another dude, Brad maybe? Or what was the manager? I don't know. It's all like a blur in my head.
Yeah.
But and then I hit up Miguel and he's like, okay, come work with me for a little bit. And that's
Is that when he had Realty World? Or was
No, he at that time was with PRW, just a small, you probably know Lisa Giles maybe, a lender, broker, owner, whatever. And started working with him.
Nice.
Yeah, and that was kind of the introduction of actually getting my license and going to a brokerage. And I hadn't even done a deal yet at that point.
Yeah.
But to his credit, he said, hey, come on. And he kind of put together a small team. And that's where I met Michael Marchena.
Okay.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
This has been a weird, long road. But it's cool.
That's why
to
we ask
think,
these questions. Yeah.
it's cool to think back on it now because, you know, you meet a lot of people and a lot of them are still around and, you know, some aren't. But it's fun to see the progression of, you know, where everyone's at now and where they were. And, yeah, it's fun to look back, go down memory lane a little bit.
Well, I can understand why it's hard for you to remember because, I mean, your success over the past. So, I mean, that kind of took us up to what, 2014, 15 or something like that?
Honestly, that was still, yeah, I mean, maybe late 13. I think I got my license mid 13. And then by the time I got into my house, and I was still working a full-time job and kids and mortgage. So, yeah, maybe early 2014-ish.
So when you got plugged in with Miguel, was that when the rubber hit the road kind of thing and you actually started doing some deals and making it happen?
Somewhat, yeah. You know, I mean, again, I didn't really know what to do, and the market was starting to recover. I remember in 13 praying that my short sale would go through because the summer of 13 is when things like went from 130,000 to like 160,000 for the same house in like that summer. And my short sale wasn't approved yet, if I remember right. And, you know, knock on wood, it all worked out. But I still don't know what to do to get business other than like short sale business.
Right.
And that didn't seem like something I wanted to do, you know. So during the time I was still working full time doing auto glass. All the time I was getting my license and all the time, even after I got my license, when I would drive around and install auto glass, I would listen to real estate podcasts because podcasts were just starting to become a thing. And I would listen to like real estate rock stars, Pat Hyben and Super Agents Live, and they would interview all these top producing realtors. So I would just listen every day to what they said they did to get business throughout their career and what took them from nothing to, you know, doing tons of deals. And so I just started implementing those things. Plus, if you know Miguel, and this podcast is not about Miguel, but Miguel gave me some advice that I think was really good and then some advice that I completely ignored, and it probably helped me in the long run too. So you guys know more than anyone that there's more than one way to become successful in real estate. So Miguel's strategy and what he had always preached to me was marketing. And Miguel's like a master of marketing. If you can take everything that he does when it comes to marketing and branding and apply it to any business, your business is going to be successful. So I learned a lot about marketing from him. But he was always like, you know, don't do door knocking, don't do cold calling, blah, blah, blah. And I can understand that, you know, because a lot of agents, I think, or a lot of people, I don't want to say it doesn't work for them, or maybe it just doesn't work for their personality. I don't know, because I think it can work for anyone, but not everyone is going to be willing to do it. And I don't think he wanted to do it, so I think he had his own way of prospecting and maybe didn't even realize that. So a lot of the podcasts I was listening were talking about door knocking and cold calling and stuff, so that's what I started doing on top of social media and kind of trying to brand myself. Yeah. Because he told me something that I think he had read from or heard from Seth Godin, which is the Purple Cow And I'm sure we've all heard that.
Yep.
You know, you're driving by a bunch of cows. How do you be the purple one that stands out? And in a sea of real estate agents, how can you be the one that people are going to remember when it comes time for them to sell their house or buy a house or help, tell their mom, hey, I know this person you should call. So it was a lot of just trying to discover what my brand was, and along the way start prospecting, door knocking. Well, door knocking was like the first thing I started doing that I would say is like prospecting. And that's where I got my first deal. And that kind of was another light bulb moment. Like, all I need to do is go out and talk to people, and it's just a numbers game. Eventually, someone's going to have to buy or sell. So my first deal was from door knocking.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
how many doors did it take to get to that one?
You know, I would go to work and work all day, and then I would come home at like 5:30. I'd take a shower, or sometimes I wouldn't, and I'd put on a suit, and I'd go door knock. And I'd hit about 50 doors a day. So it was probably only about a week or two in when I first got my first lead. And that, I'd say from the time I met the lead to the time they were in escrow was like only another 2 weeks. So once I actually started working and prospecting, it came pretty quick.
Yeah.
So it didn't take long. It didn't feel like it took long.
Were you this cool when you first started? Like, is this what you wore? Are those glasses real?
No, these are not real glasses. No, of course not.
Strictly for my face.
Strictly just to look like a dork.
I would just think if you came knocking at my door, I would answer it and feel welcoming. Do you know what I mean? Was
I
this your
appreciate
brand
that.
when you first started?
To be honest, I was a little more dressy, and I still, like, if I go on a listing appointment, I wear a tie and something more dressy. This is a little more casual, but I always was of the mindset that if you are very professional, people are at least going to take you somewhat serious, because I hadn't done a deal yet. And back then, I was younger than I am now. Not like I'm super old, but I looked younger. And so I was like, if I want people, and I didn't have a beard. So I'm like, if I want people to take me serious and I want to look like a professional, I have to kind of dress up. And I remember for a very short time, and maybe I had already known who you were at that time, maybe. I don't remember. But I started wearing bow ties a lot. And I'm like, I could be like the bow tie realtor. That faded very fast, thankfully. But I was trying to discover, like, what can I do? But the suit thing really was almost like a branding thing, to be honest, because I really liked dressing up. At one point, I started really getting into it, and I really tried to hone in on how can I be like as stylish in a suit without being quirky. Like the bow tie thing, maybe a little too quirky, Sure. So the suits and wearing suits kind of almost turned into an image, because in this industry, I feel like so many people have gotten away from dressing up that now you almost stand out if you wear what used to just be standard. Real estate agents used to wear suits all the time. Now no one does almost. Right. So it almost became a brand in of itself to be, the
especially
guy
a
that
young
always
man
dresses up.
under 30 wearing a suit, because usually you think
in
of
California.
Suits, yeah. 'Cause California realtors, for anybody that's watching this out of California, it's flip flops and shorts and maybe a polo shirt.
No.
Not here at Signature Real Estate Group.
And there was a time where, in the beginning, especially when things started moving and it was selling a lot of homes, or starting to sell what I thought was a lot of homes at the time, that I was like, well, every agent should be wearing a suit, and I kind of was on a high horse a little bit about it. And I think now, I still think that it's always going to look better if you show up as professional as you can, but I also realize that every person has their own style and way of approaching things, and I think you're going to probably appeal to the broadest amount of people if you wear a suit, but that doesn't mean you're going to appeal to everyone. So it's a numbers game at the end of the day. I think you got to do what's comfortable for you. As long as you're working hard, things are going to fall into place somehow. So
you got the branding rolling, you got some deals coming in, and then how did you meet this wonderful bright-eyed lady?
Oh man, I wish I would have met Susan a lot
right?
sooner. Yeah. So when I was with PRW, I eventually ended up leaving there and went to Realty One Group. Okay. So I'm taking the long way to how I met Susan, but I met a guy, Christian Stone, and I met him at the Board of Realtors in Hemet.
Okay.
And it was just one of these fluke things, kind of like everything has been a fluke along the way. And I guess that's most people's story. I was saying it, we just got cut off thanks to Billy screwing everything up. But I was saying that, I feel like things have been happening for a reason type of thing. But I guess that's everyone's life. Like things lead you to where you are now, good and bad. But I met Christian at the Board of Realtors in Hemet. And I don't know what made me. Oh, I remember I had seen him in the gym a couple times throughout the years, and I'm like, "Hey, man, I think I know you." And he's like, "Yeah, you look familiar." And I keep hearing like clicking. And I feel like it's Billy snapping, but it's the camera. Okay, gosh. And I'm like, "Hey, you got your license?" He's like, "Yeah, I just got my license." Like we literally had just both got our license, probably within months of each other, and I was like, well, cool, man, let's exchange cards and, any tips or tricks, let's like exchange information and how we can help each other grow. And I think that was such a huge part of my growth from then to now was realizing right from the start that even though we're both in this small town and we're both in the same industry and we should both technically be competitors, that thought never really went through my head. Mm-hmm. It was more like, hey, I can share with him what I've learned from these podcasts, because at the time he didn't listen to any podcasts. He didn't. I don't even know if he knew how to read at the time. And
love you, Christian.
So I told him, like, hey man, you got to listen to these podcasts. And he's like, hey, he told me about Mike Ferry. Yep. He was just learning about Mike Ferry, and I'm like, cool, yeah. So we just started hanging out and exchanging what we were learning. Mm-hmm. And never once did I feel like we're competition. It was always about helping each other grow and do better. And I think that's one thing that a lot of agents or people in general get wrong right off the bat. Yeah. It's like they get information or a tip or a trick and they just hoard it. And they're like, this is mine. This is like the ring, the Lord of the Rings, and no one else can have it. Precious. And my precious. And I just think that the more you can share and throw out, the more is going to come back to you. And that was the way I treated it with Christian from day one. Same with Miguel, same with everyone. The more I learned, the more I shared. And it just kept coming back tenfold. So that then led us to going. So we both went to Realty One Group. We were there for a little while, and then Christian, I don't know how, somehow Christian hooked up with Susan, not in that way, but they met professionally. And he's like, hey man, you got to check out Signature. And I'm like, okay. Like, I wasn't not happy at Realty One, and I wasn't loving Realty One. I was kind of like, whatever. But he was like, no, we got to go here. Everything we've been doing, sharing information, like we're going to go over there and do it there. And at the time, David Serpa was there, and he was, a big agent at the time, and we're going to learn from him, and we're going to compete, and it's going to push us. And I got to give him a lot of credit because he was like pushing me to go where I didn't really care either way because I was doing fine and business was growing. But I was like, yeah, man, like if you say it's cool and it's a good idea and you're going there, I'll go there too, and maybe we can help make Signature like the best, like we'll get other agents to go, because again, our thing was just all about growing and sharing, and wherever we're at, we want it to be the best. And that's how I met Susan, and I'm glad I did.
Susan's a life changer.
She really is.
I don't think I'm a life changer, but I do agree with all the philosophies of all you kids, of the collaboration. There is enough pie, and let's go help each other, and then help rise to the occasion, you know? And that's always really fun. So, because that was in the beginning here, and it was, in my eyes, it was, okay, it's an experiment. I wonder if it's going to work. Can all these egos come under the same roof and just really like each other? And probably one of the funnest things from my perspective was when you guys came in, you were these successful, I was worshiping the ground you walked on, but you had the same heart and spirit as I did, and I couldn't believe that that was really out there and that you were really going to come do this and we were going to do it together. I was so happy. And then it actually worked, and I was like, this is working. What is going on? You guys are all so nice.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, you're right. Well, in this business, any business where there's a lot of money and then there's also notoriety, there's going to be ego. It's just, there's no way around it. And in this business, if you do well, you A, make a lot of money, and B, get a lot of notoriety. So to have so many really good agents come to Signature all within a very small amount of time and not have any drama that I know of. I don't know. I try to stay out of the drama because there's a lot of drama in real estate, but for the most part, all work under one roof, and even sometimes leave and then realize Signature is actually the best place to be and come back. Like that's happened a couple times. It's just, it's really unlike any other brokerage that I know of that, so many top producers are in one place sharing information. And Susan preached it from the beginning, even before I got there. So it was really like a match made in heaven, honestly, because she already kind of had that idea and knew what she wanted to create, and she had already been a successful brokerage owner, but starting in a new building, that was a big leap of faith on her part, because when we joined, you were just leaving the old building. And, to say, hey, we're just going to see if we can make this work and see if we can attract more of the right type of agents. Because there's a lot of agents that I know Susan hasn't allowed to come to Signature for, she don't want to poison the well, so to speak, So it's not always about just being a top producer, but it's also about being the right type of person. And you hear a lot about that in sports teams. Certain coaches say, hey, we want great players, but we also want the right type of players to make the team as strong as it could possibly be. And yeah, we have friendly competition. It would be stupid not to, because again, to use a sports analogy, you got someone like Pete Carroll, the coach of the Seahawks, who also coached USC to multiple championships, Super Bowl winning coach. He teaches competition within his own team because they're competing to make each other better. It doesn't mean, the more they compete, they're both going to get better.
Yeah.
And a rising tide lifts all boats type of thing. So, it's a lot of friendly competition, but, keeping the egos in check as much as possible.
Well, it's a lot of fun, and and I say this on almost every episode, is that you really did set that tonality for the whole office here, is that have fun, get the job done, play nice in the sandbox, as you like to say.
Play nice in the sandbox.
And it makes a huge difference, because it's fun to come to work. Like every time we see each other, we're always messing around with each other, and I'm always excited to see what you're going to wear, and you don't really care what I'm going to wear because you already know
I know what
you're
going to wear, but I love it. I love it every time.
It's always the same thing.
I was honestly shocked it took you so long to get here. I mean, I don't get back over to come home, so to speak.
It took a while. It took a while, but
we're glad you're here, because look, what other brokerage now time is everyone's catching up, so to speak.
Sure.
Yeah.
But Susan was an early adopter of this type of stuff, of recognizing that podcasts and media and all these things are an important part of branding in 2019 and 2018. And she was kind enough to put this whole thing together, a studio, and recognize that, the big producers in the business want this type of thing available to them, and now some brokerages are catching on to it, but she was an early adopter.
Yeah.
She thankfully listened. No, I don't want to say listen to us,
But I did listen to you.
Well, but I never said. See,
And
this is what
I asked the questions.
she did. So yes, that's a good way of putting it, because we didn't demand a podcast studio, but she also was smart enough and kind enough to realize what we were putting together, podcasts and things like that, and to say, hey, well, why don't I provide this in-house so that it's, number one, easier for everybody, and then anyone else that wants to do that can do it. And she recognized that you do these types of media things, and lots of agents. So I think it was very smart on her part.
Well, and it's because of him, because he taught me that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one who was like, okay, studio, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that from him.
Okay, yeah.
And and then when we came here, and it was like, okay, let's do this. I mean, the person who was here first, we have in common,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
But it's been fun.
It has
It's been totally fun.
Yeah.
I want to know about your family. Are you married?
Of course, yes, I am married.
How long have you been married?
I've been married for 9 years now.
And how many babies do you have?
Wait, has it been 9 years or 10 years? No,
You
9
better get that
years.
right, 'cause you know she's gonna
Yeah,
watch
I know. No, she won't watch this. My wife, I love my wife. She's awesome. But she's so busy, she doesn't have time to watch a 45-minute podcast to hear me tell my story for the 20th time. I love her, and she loves me, but,
You
let's be
guys
honest.
are like the hot couple.
Oh, gosh.
And the
Here we
branding that
go.
you do together
My
is
wife-
so, I'm using the word sexy.
My wife just texted me today and was like, I got Tom's Toothpaste wants me to do a sponsored ad or something on my Instagram. And I'm like, what? Like she gets, I go to my house and there's just free stuff at our house all the time. My wife is on blowing up on Instagram. It makes me feel not as important anymore. But no, my wife's awesome. And she's been a really big help on the back end of things. That sounds bad. That sounds like that.
What kind of back end are we talking about?
No, not in that way, Mr. Butler, but that way as well. No, I don't want to say. Oh, and she's in. But she really is such a huge help, but not really like you. You don't see it a lot of times. Does that make sense? Like she maybe doesn't get as much credit as she should,
But she sure is beautiful.
She is beautiful, absolutely.
She is one pretty
She's
girl.
very beautiful, very intelligent, very patient with me because, when I get into real estate, I was working both jobs. So I would literally work 7 days a week when I first got into real estate I remember there was like a month straight where I worked 7 days a week. And I don't mean like I was working at home writing up something on the MLS. Like I was on the Saturdays and Sundays that I wasn't doing my regular job, I was holding open houses, I was door knocking, I was showing clients, homes. So she was watching the kids, and
How many kids do you have?
I have 2 daughters, 2 beautiful daughters.
How old are they?
15 and 8.
You don't look old enough to have a 15-year-old.
So that's another fun story we can get into.
Yeah.
I had a tough early going. When I was 19, I had my first daughter, and I lived in a trailer. I lived in a lot of trailers. A lot of people don't know that, but I've lived in, not that there's anything wrong with that. I don't want people to watch this and think, what's wrong with trailers? But, it's not the ideal living situation is living in a trailer, but...
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But seeing your work ethic, I can understand. That helps me understand your full frame of who you are, kind of thing. Because I think when somebody, it's like the whole Eminem 8 Mile thing. It's like when you come from a place of less advantage, kind of thing. You really have to work for what you're getting at, and you have one of the best work ethics in this industry, I think.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's. I would say that is a big part of it. Growing up when I was younger, my parents were they still are hard workers. So I got to give a lot of credit to my mom and dad. But we didn't have a lot of money. Growing up in Hemet, I think the average household income today is like $38,000 a year. Mm-hmm. So coming from a place like that, you learn that's just like blue collar, like you just work hard. So on the flip side, when I was early teens, my dad started a business, and that was maybe where I got some of the entrepreneurial spirit, so to speak. But I was still just an employee because I was working for my mom and dad, and I wasn't making a lot of money. I was looking through my tax returns in like 2010 or something, and it was like $27,000 for the year. So people think, oh, you're working for your mom and dad, you're getting taken care of, but it wasn't like that. It was living in a trailer with a brand new baby and a wife at 19,
And then you do that in a month, 3 weeks,
Oh,
2 weeks.
Yeah. I don't know.
You have
It
your good
depends.
times. You have
You
your
got
good
good
moments, yeah.
times. You got bad times.
Did you get good grades in high school?
I think I got a 2.50 GPA.
Yeah.
So I was really
It's
slinging
above 1.
it. Yeah.
Hey, it's all relative, right?
2.50?
Sure is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 2.50.
And
And
your
if I
brothers?
didn't have physical education, that would have went down to probably like a 1.8.
That was your easy A.
Yeah, that was my easy A.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have one sister, younger. Yeah, one younger sister, and that's it. Yeah, just she. So I was basically an only child till I was 11. So she's quite a bit younger than me. Yeah, 11 years apart. So I do have a little bit of that spoiled brat in me too, a little bit. That single child, that'll come out every once in a while. My friends remind me. But yeah, I had a good childhood, but definitely wasn't a lot of money floating around, extra money,
Right.
like maybe vacation once a year type of thing, which is normal. I don't want to act like, I wasn't living in a car or something, but there was a lot of like, watch the money type of talk, and so I think when you get into real estate, that's sometimes even better to have that in the back of your head because, well, it can go one of two ways. If you're constantly worried about you're not going to have enough money, you're probably going to keep working hard. But I also think you should have somewhat of an abundance mindset to know that there's always going to be more deals, so don't be so worried all the time that you don't go out and actually do something.
You cut
Yeah.
off the flow of it. Yeah.
Yeah, or it's the I talk about the Starbucks thing, like don't trip out about getting Starbucks and don't cut off your Starbucks habit so you can save $3 every other day. Figure out how to make $10 more every other day. It's just a better mindset.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in earn a nickel than save a penny mode.
Yeah.
Because there's the two modes you can be in, Either you're always worried about saving a penny or figuring out how can I earn another nickel. I think that's the better mindset to be in, is don't worry about all the things you need to cut out. Just worry how you can make a little bit more extra money.
And the thing that is so cool about what he's saying is that, remember what he said he did in the beginning is all he did was listen to podcasts and all that stuff. And now he is that person that is creating the podcasts.
Yeah, I try.
He
Yeah,
is.
it's a very
Has his
flooded
own-
industry now, but it's
I
fun.
know, but it's cool that you're doing the very thing that changed your whole viewpoint, and
That's a
you're
good
giving
point.
that back.
That's a
You're
good
totally
point.
paying it forward.
Well,
It's a real-
I like to think that in the next few years, you're going to be having somebody at your interview that they're going to be like, yeah, your Stay Hungry show changed my life. Kind
That'd
of
be
thing,
cool.
Yeah.
I would love that. Yeah, and then
that's-
you'll get people that reach out every once in a while and say, "Hey, I love the show. I listen to it." I was at Mike Ferry, a Mike Ferry event, and someone from Boston came up and was like, "Oh, I listen to your show." And I asked him, "Well, where are you from? Like maybe just local or something." "Oh, I live in Boston." So you never know when you have
Yeah.
the power of the internet. You never know who's
Yeah,
watching.
but it's a really good show.
Well, thank
So
you.
in case anyone doesn't know, there's a really good
Every-
show.
Monday.
Every Monday, but you can find it every episode on YouTube
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Stitcher.
And you
Apple.
talk about fun stuff.
well,
And
yeah,
like real life stuff and really what you're going through. And, let's
Yes.
talk about football.
we talk about football. I think you would agree with me on this, Mr. Butler, that real estate is so transactional and like you kind of do the same thing over and over and you get really good at it. But for me, I have to have something like the podcast and certain little things that can still be a way to get business somehow through those avenues, but it breaks up the monotony of everyday transactional life. You cold call, you door knock, you handle, the ins and outs of every transaction for your clients to make sure everyone's taken care of and it's done the right way. You can only do that for years and years and years until you need something on the side like a podcast or something that in a weird way you could still get business from, but it also breaks up the monotony of just the everyday, business life.
Well, you hit it on the head because with this type of media, with the video and the podcasting and all this kind of stuff, is that it's evergreen marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I've been doing videos since 2009, so
Wow.
it's 10 years coming up next month. And I'll get calls from videos that I did back in the exit days and stuff like that. So that material is still out there floating around.
Yes.
You never know if somebody from Boston's going to watch it or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's amazing that although it's catching on, it still isn't as, like, we have 180 agents in this office, and I think you and I are the only one that have consistent shows anyways.
Yeah, I know Christian does his podcast, you know, here and there, and I don't know if anyone else does, but you're right. And video, I have to give another person credit that's really done a great job recently and just pumping out video after video after video is Adam Schwartz.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I had a phone call with him yesterday because I've been telling myself that I want to do videos like he's doing
The vlog
on
style.
a very consistent basis, and I didn't do it.
Yeah.
That's my bad. That's on me. He said, I'm going to do it, and then he went out and did it.
Yeah.
So I called him. It was either yesterday or Monday, and I was like, hey, man, I want to give you props. You're doing an excellent job, and you're inspiring me to do what I've been saying I'm going to do. So that's going to be something I'm going to implement. And you've been, like you said, you've been doing videos consistently for 10 years now.
Yeah.
And that's something that I used to see your videos all the time and think, like, I should do more video, but I just haven't done it. So the podcasts are great. Little videos here and there are great, but I think the more you can do, it's like you said, it's evergreen. It's always going to be out there. And it gives people a chance to almost pre-interview you before they even pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And I always tell agents this. There's really two avenues in which you can get business. And in each avenue, there's different subsections. So the first avenue is, I say, is like, it's just hunting. So you're cold calling, you're door knocking, you are going out to open houses, or you're holding open houses, and you're hunting every day for business. That's one way you can get business. The second is attracting it. So either through paid marketing or branding or, social media posts. That's a way to attract people to you by putting your message out there, putting your branding out there. I don't care if it's buying a billboard or it's doing a show or doing videos like Adam is. People are seeing it, and if they see it and it resonates with them, they're going to reach out and say, hey, I see your stuff all the time. I need to sell my house. So between those two avenues and the different subsections of each avenue, if you can learn to, I don't want to say master because that's such a big word, but if you can learn to do both of those avenues on a pretty consistent basis and do them, I'd say 50%, like if 100% is like you're a master at it, if you can do 50%, you're going to have tons of business.
Yeah.
But you need to do both. I used to think you only have to do one, and if you do one or the other and you do it well, you'll still stay busy. But when you can marry those two together, you're going to be unstoppable.
That's a powerful force right there.
I think the other person that's good in the office is Chris McCullough.
Oh, yeah.
See?
Real Estate Blitz, and
He does a
they're
lot of-
really good at that.
He's a
100%.
marketing
I'm
genius
glad you
on
brought
many
that up.
levels.
Totally.
Many levels.
Chris is
Yeah.
a genius at a lot of different things, and I'm glad you brought him up because his Real Estate Blitz show, I've watched that several times, and he drops a lot of very good knowledge for not only consumers but agents. And when you can inform and give people value through knowledge, then you're perceived as the expert that you actually are, and that can again attract people to say, hey, I'm going to call that Chris guy. He seems to know what he's doing. I need to sell grandma's house.
Who also happens to be here at Signature Real Estate in
Hey, we
Marietta,
got all the
California,
best.
Los Alamos Road.
Okay, so how do you regroup and regenerate? Is it on those pretty vacations
Yes.
where you're at the water and you and your wife are taking extraordinarily beautiful pictures with the ocean in the background?
You guys are a pretty couple.
I appreciate
It works.
that.
Yeah.
How do we recharge? Oh, that's tough because, and Adam did a good video. I'm gonna give Adam some more props. He broke down like what real estate agents make and then where the money actually goes and how much is left when it's done.
The whiteboard.
And people think like, oh, you make all this money, and it's, to an degree, it's somewhat true. If you do a lot of deals, if you help a lot of people, you're gonna make a good amount of money. It's like any business. If you sell a lot of ice cream, you're gonna be Ben and Jerry's, right? You're gonna be millionaires. But how do you regroup? Because it is stressful. I will say that. I feel like real estate has taken years off of my life. Like these wrinkles right here. My wife tells me all the time. Like she looked at a picture of me from like 6 years ago. She's like, "You look so young," and I'm like, "What do you mean?"
You're not allowed to talk about wrinkles in front of me.
Well, you've been in real estate longer. That's all.
You're only 29, right, Susan?
Longer, a few times.
Yeah.
A few times now.
Sorry,
So how do you recharge?
I'm the worst at staying on the question. You asked me how I recharge, and all I talked about was wrinkles and giving Adam Schwartz more credit about videos.
We love you, Adam.
We love Adam. How do I recharge? So I think you have to almost recharge daily somewhat. Like I started doing this breathing technique.
Do you want
The
to
Wim
share it
Hof?
with
I
us?
do.
The Wim Hof
Wim
one?
Hof.
Yeah.
How'd you know?
I know Wim Hof, yeah.
Are you doing it?
I know I need to.
Do it, dude. Okay, I'm only a week in on the Wim Hof. So I do a couple different things. Number one, I work out because I think that's important to do something physical. So I like to work out and I like to go in the sauna. But I started the Wim Hof, dude. And I will tell you, that's a game changer right
Is it
there.
really?
It really is.
I've just seen his videos. I've never really implemented it, so.
Do it.
Yeah?
I do it every morning, and
Is this a breathing thing?
it's a breathing thing.
So like today when you started and you weren't breathing?
No, well, maybe I needed to do some there. This is a thing where it oxygenates your blood, and you will feel so euphoric when you do this thing.
Is
Does
it
it
just
take a
really
long
deep
time?
breathing?
It's actually, no, you can do it in like 15 minutes. I do it, oh man, I'm giving up so much right now. I drop my daughter off and I literally do it in my car at the same spot. I'm not going to tell anyone where it is because you'll find me there every morning doing the Wim Hof thing for like 15 minutes. But you basically, Billy maybe can put a link or something, I don't know. Just Google Wim Hof breathing technique. And that's one of the ways it's kind of like a meditation thing, I guess you could say. But also I do go on vacation. Like I have to my wife just booked a trip to Seattle for next weekend. So I go on these like mini vacations where it's like 2 or 3 nights and I'll go to like San Francisco or Seattle or Mexico and just get away from it all for like 2 or 3 days and just recharge.
I love admiring from afar that it looks like you live your life for experiences
Yes.
and joy and not the gathering of a whole bunch of stuff, but all the stuff you have is beautiful and nice, but it
I
sure
love
looks
Susan.
like you live life to the fullest.
Everyone's different, you know, but for me, yeah, I'd much rather go on a nice vacation than, buy like toys or whatever, but everyone has their thing. Sometimes toys are incorporated into the vacation for people, and that makes a lot of sense too.
Well, having watched a lot of the agents go from nothing to success, especially if they quickly get that success, there is that phase of accumulating stuff, right? And then I think that satisfies something, and then you get to the point where like, okay, a car is just going to fall apart or whatever, and then you move on to the experiences, and then you move on to the giving back thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to be a process.
Right now, I think that my biggest thing that I'm working towards is just creating passive income. And, it's such a, like, everyone talks about it, but it's harder than it looks or it seems, like, oh, I just buy some rental properties. But it's, you got to make a lot of money to buy the rental properties. Then, like, I just bought a rental property in Montana with 2 houses on it. But I've already dealt with, like, a water leak, a main water leak, vacancy, rehabbing a house that's built into like 1905, like a lot of just, things that are somewhat stressful, but they're all getting handled and it's all going to work out fine. But, it's something that I think my kids will thank me for one day, and I think if you can build something that's going to leave a legacy, that's a lot better than maybe buying an RV or something,
Yeah.
So
awesome.
unless you're gonna cook meth in it,
Breaking Bad status.
then maybe it's worth it.
I tried to not watch that show, but
Why?
the boys were watching it.
Why did you
And
not
I'm
want to
like,
watch it?
Because I am sometimes real conservative in my thought process, coming from where
gosh.
I came from, which
That's
was not
understandable.
conservative.
That's understandable.
So maybe I lived Breaking Bad just a little.
Yeah.
I was trying to break away from that. And
Break
they
away
sucked
from
me
bad.
right in. I'm like, I'm looking at it. The next thing I know, I'm sitting down. Like,
Did you
oh
watch
my
the whole
God.
thing?
Yes, it was so
Wasn't it a great
good.
show? Yeah.
Yes, it was so
Brilliantly
good.
written.
Yeah.
Yes, and the thing I
Yes.
liked about Breaking Bad is they ended it just in time.
Yeah.
I feel like so many TV shows like that, they drag it out. And remember Lost, and like they drag it out, and then they run out of stuff, and then it gets watered down, and then end it and then no one's happy. Breaking Bad
Yeah.
was like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Now we're ending it, and everyone's like, cool, like this was awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
no. So did you not hear?
They're
Jesse,
doing-
doing
yeah,
the
I know.
Jesse Pinkman, but it's gonna be different.
It's gonna
but
be
still,
different.
It's all
Well,
same-
I didn't watch Better Call Saul or whatever
You didn't get
either.
into that.
I was like, I'm not doing this. Like you
don't
guys
wanna
did
taint
it
it,
perfect, you know. Of course, I had to go back and you know, so I stayed away from that. But
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite TV shows? Do you watch TV?
not much. For 16 weeks out of the year, my wife wants to kill me because I will literally watch football from 9 a.m. to 9 at night on Sundays during football season. That's my like guilty
Pleasure.
pleasure. I don't watch a lot of TV. Here's the problem. I'll tell you what the problem is, Susan, in 2019 and Mr. Butler. There is too much to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got like Game of Thrones and blah 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 blah. I'll like start a show and I'm too busy to watch it because this job consumes my life. So I just don't have time, and there's just too much. Like there's so many things I'd like to watch, but there's too much. But that's a good question. I don't really think I like to, if I have time, if I have a good 45 minutes at night, me and my wife will watch Dateline. That is my show. Like I like Dateline. It's always about insurance. If my wife ever takes out an insurance claim that like on my life, just know that she did it. Like, you know what I mean? Like a life insurance.
She's balling.
That is
A week after
just
your death.
wrong.
Yeah.
Every episode,
No, we don't mean that, Felicia.
every episode is because of the life insurance.
Yeah.
They always kill him for the life insurance. You ever notice that? Do you watch Dateline?
Every once in a while.
Oh,
I
you
find
need
that
to
a little
watch it.
depressing, and then I get paranoid because I do have life insurance policies out on me.
Well,
So I'm like,
it's depressing.
Mama's going out.
Yeah, it's depressing, but I guess I need a little depressing stuff because my life's so good.
It is. You
It is
have a
good.
great life, man.
You know, I'm so glad you're saying that because I get frustrated and pissed off, and then every once in a while I'll have this rush of like, you ever get just so excited? You're just like, oh, every once in a while have that and just be like, my life is so good. Like,
Yeah.
and I really, truly feel that a lot. Like, it doesn't happen all the time. And I'm usually by myself. My wife would be like, when is this? Because you're always complaining to me. But there are these moments maybe once a week where I just am so like, dude, how did I get this life?
It's good to step back and have that sense of appreciation and gratitude, because I'll walk by your office sometimes and I can just tell you got the world on your shoulders, like because you like
Yeah.
I do my level of business, but you're like 5 times that, and so I know what the stress that I go through, and so I can't imagine the amplification of what you deal with. You know what I mean? Operating at the level that you do.
It can be tough.
But I'm glad to hear that you say that you do take that moment to step back, because you're a very serious guy. Like when I see
I am and I'm not. You know,
Yeah.
I do get annoyed with successful people and how serious they are sometimes. Like, even my buddy Cody, who we all know, I'll be like, dude, like I roast him and I like make fun of him and because he's so serious. And a lot of successful people are ultra serious. And I understand it because it's like, to reach a level of success, you can't just mess around all the time. Like, unless you're a comedian. But even great comedians have their time where they're like honing in on their 1 hour special that they're going to do, and they're like writing nonstop. It's not the comedians that never get serious, never actually become
The breakthroughs.
huge stars.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee you Jerry Seinfeld is super serious.
Oh, yeah.
But then he also knows how to mess around. And I think more entrepreneurs and top producers need to learn how to mess around every once in a while and just like don't be so serious all the time.
I love that part of the office when you guys like banter back and forth and stuff at our office meetings, and put each other down, compete positively against each other.
I like to
Yeah,
make
it's
fun
fun.
of Christian.
Yes, it's fun.
I like to
love
make
that
fun of
when that
Adam.
happens. Yeah, it's fun.
I like to make fun of Adam a lot recently because he's. I don't want to say too much about Adam, but I like to make fun of not Schwartz. I'm talking about Nelson. That
Well,
son
because
of a
he's
bitch.
fun to compete with. Yeah.
He is, but I just
Yeah.
like to roast him
Yeah.
because he's getting old, and he's decrepit.
He's like in the
He-
40s
he's
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's our
Yeah.
silver feather club. Yeah. One of the
So
older ones.
crazy.
I like Adam a lot, though. See, Adam's another one where if you just like break his crusty shell, it's just a gooey ooey inside.
Yeah.
He's a nice
he
guy.
would give you the shirt off of his back.
He
a good
really
dude.
is
We
a
love
good
him.
guy. Yeah, he is. He is
Okay,
a good-
favorite food.
Oh man. So I try to eat good. I try not to put on the extra pounds. But if I'm really just saying like a favorite food of all time, it's got to be probably pizza. I know that's so cliche, but like I could eat.
You can't
pizza.
go wrong with pizza though.
You can't go wrong with pizza. And
Have you tried cauliflower crust?
yeah, I've had
Have
it.
you? I haven't tried that.
I like
it's
it.
actually, but here's the
I like
problem.
it, yeah.
I don't want to burst your bubble,
No,
Susan.
it's okay.
But if you go to like California Pizza Kitchen and you get the cauliflower crust, it's really not that much better for you. But I
Really?
have had it. Yeah, because they put a lot of other junk in there. Nothing is good for you anymore. Let's just face it. Like, it's all bad.
Well, even if you eat fruits and they say, "Oh, it's too acidic and too sugary for you," it's
I
just
don't
like
know.
you can't win
You can't
anything
win.
here.
No,
Well,
but
I
pizza.
know that once I saw a picture of you and I thought they airbrushed your abs.
Oh, yeah. I know.
I was like,
You never thought about that about even my photos.
they were like at the beach or
I did have a
somewhere,
nice-
and
I had a-
I had to ask Josh. I was like, is that James?
I think I had a nice tan at the time. It was probably a fake tan. But no, you can't put abs if they're not there. You can highlight something that is there.
Well, it's
But-
amazing that pizza is your favorite food.
Well, I
with
don't
those
ever
abs.
eat it.
Just saying he
I
would
love
like to
like
have it.
if that's my favorite food. I love donuts too. Like I could eat probably 7 or 8 donuts in one sitting, but I don't. But I could. I love donuts. I love pizza. I really like Mexican food a lot. What else do I love when it comes to food? I'm a big ice cream guy. I like ice cream a lot. I like hot fudge sundaes
With brownies under them.
with brownies. I like all the bad stuff. So, you know what though? I really like going to the movies and I just like popcorn and jalapenos together, and a like big Coke Zero, and just popcorn and jalapenos. Try it. If you like spicy stuff, it's awesome. You got to get like 5 or 6 of the little things to go with it though, because you don't want to be getting more jalapenos.
Do you go to the reclining seats one so you have a
Of
table? in
course,
front of you?
yeah. Once they got the reclining ones, I didn't go to any other theaters for a long time, and then I branched out and realized, oh, they all got recliners now. So,
It's safe to go out there to the other
But,
theaters.
dude, my kids are so spoiled. I can't get anyone in my family to go to the movies.
Oh.
I went to the movies maybe once every couple months when I was a kid. My kids are so spoiled that I'm like, hey, let's go to the movies. I'll ask them once a week, and they're always like, nah, it's just fine, And I'm like, dude, like, what do you mean? I would go to the movies probably 2 or 3 times a week if someone would go with me.
Well, good Lord, I have a family of 5, and it's $100 to $150 bucks.
that is
like,
true. It
after
gets
tickets
pricey.
and then
it's probably better my family
it's-
doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
Be broke.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
very expensive.
So
I'm gonna
where-
start going by myself.
Oh, I go by myself because I do like movies, and they come out, and I'm like, so Nash and Zach want to go to the movies?
And they probably don't want to go.
Yeah,
huh?
Mom.
Yeah, I know. Me and
Um,
Susan are going together.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you want to be?
Man, I should have known this one was coming. This is like a cliche one.
Uh-huh. Want to just do next year? Would that be easier?
Are you talking about like physically? Like where do I physically want to be, or like
physically?
just everything?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Everything.
I'd like to. Right now, I have a small team, a real estate team, and I don't want to grow that too much, but I would like to see my team producing at a higher level for them, for the whole team. If we're talking about business,
Yeah.
I would like to have a team that is really well known within the community. We live in a town in just Temecula, 113,000 people in just Temecula. And if you include Murrieta, and then you include Menifee, blah, 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 you're talking, probably 250,000 people between, or more. I don't know.
Probably
Well,
about
you could-
half a million.
I don't know.
500,000
in this valley.
In this valley.
Right.
I would like our team to be. I want them to be local celebrities, and in a sense that people know them as professionals and knowing everything about the valley in which they sell real estate. So that's my goal for myself and my team, to be a small team of local celebrities that are true professionals, that are really well known within the community and sell real estate at an extremely high volume. So that's where I see myself in the team, when we're talking about business. And then, I don't know, for myself, obviously, I'd love to see my wife not have to, she doesn't really have to work, but she still does, because she's kind of like me in the sense that she can't just sit still. But I'd like to see her do more of work that she really loves, because she likes what she does, but she's transitioning more into working with interior design stuff and more fashion stuff. I'd like to see her be able to transition, keep going that way, and maybe get away from what she does now, which is more, she does eyelash extensions, which she's amazing at, and she's booked every single day. But I see her working so much that I'm like, you should do something else, that you don't have to work as much. But she doesn't have to work. That's the thing. I tell her, you don't have to work. I don't know what you're doing. Yeah. So, but she can't sit still. So, and then my kids, I'd like to see my kids, obviously happy and healthy and doing whatever it is they want to do, because that changes every day. So I can't.
If you go off your own reproductive calendar, you could theoretically be a grandfather in the next 20 years.
I've thought about that.
Isn't
and
that
I
weird?
don't want to be a grandpa in 5 years. My kid will only be 20.
Yeah.
My daughter will only be 20. I don't want her having a kid like I did. But I do, I look at this two ways, because I try to see the positive in both sides. If you have a kid, like a lot of my friends are having their first kids right now in their mid-30s, right, I think that's good, because you're financially stable, your relationship's stable with your wife, and you are mature. You know what it's like to have I don't know how long. Were you young when you had your first kid?
I was old when I had my babies. I was 30 with the first one.
Well, when you're a kid having a kid, you're not mature. So you do a lot of stupid things like I did. And, I think it's good to have kids when you're older. On the flip side, I think it's really good to have kids when you're young, because by the time they grow up, you're still pretty young. So number one, you get to enjoy your grandkids and stuff for a lot longer. And number two, you get to enjoy your second life. When I'm 40, my kids are pretty much going to be out of the house. Well, my youngest won't quite, but she'll be a teenager, and my oldest will be in college or whatever she wants to be doing, hopefully starting a business or something. And I'll be enjoying my early 40s.
I like that. I like the early plan, because I did the not early plan.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that either. I mean,
and I would love to have some grandkids, so I just borrow his children and pretend they're mine every once in a while.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, 5 years from now, hopefully everything's chugging along, and I'd like to own some more rental properties. That's the goal, and just I want to help her keep building Signature and just helping bring more agents and making things amazing for everybody.
And with that said, I know that you are a busy man and you have an appointment tonight.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for making this a very successal brokerage.
Thank you for
#Shelby
having me
Sold
tonight. Yeah, this was fun, and it took a while, but I appreciate it. I was waiting my turn.
Well, the 180 agents and only once a week.
It's gonna take a while.
It's gonna take a while.
Yeah. No, but
I have to stay, vertical.
Well, any final thoughts with Mr. Shelby?
I just want to thank you, because you're one of those people who is filled with class and grace, and every time you walk in, it's that.
Okay.
Every time I see you, it's just, hey,
Hey, yeah.
and it's pure joy.
I appreciate that.
You have good manners.
Sometimes,
and you are kind, and you are supportive, and it means the world to me, and I'm really humbled and really glad that you're here.
Well, I appreciate that, and you are all those things as well, and I think that's why we get along so well. Because every once in a while I will text Susan just something nice.
Yeah,
I should probably do it more often, but every once in a while I think, to be honest, I'm going to be very, very transparent right here. I think I'm not nice. I should be nicer to Susan, and I honestly sometimes feel a guilt in my. I will think about this. This is true. I sometimes think Susan has done so much for me, and I don't do enough nice things for Susan. So I want to apologize for that off the bat.
You are not allowed to do that.
I do think that sometimes. So I'm not. Of all the times to tell you, it's when other people are going to be watching. I could just tell you this in your office once, but
now you have it recorded, so you can show her over and over.
So if I don't do anything nice for her, she can play it back and be like, "Remember 6 months ago you said you should be doing more nice things for me? You haven't done anything."
The power of video. The power of video. Well, guys, thank you for a fantastic show. James, thank
Thanks
you
for
for just
having
being
me.
a
I
leader at
appreciate
this
it.
brokerage. Thank you for being who you are, stylish and all. Thank you for
try.
your style and grace, your
Thank
humor.
you, sir.
And, you always got an open door policy whenever I want to bug you, so I appreciate
Absolutely. Come bug me all the time.
that. And hashtag Shelby sold.
Yes.
Miss Susan Ebert, the bald guy in the red tie, under the spotlights here at Signature Studios, saying thanks for watching. See you in escrow. Bye.